1-312-626-6799 and entering meeting ID 979-6273-3505 pound. Please note that participants who generate unwanted or distracting noises may be muted by the meeting host. If this happens, please unmute yourself when you wish to speak. Guidelines for this meeting are as follows. Each member of the public, staff, or presenter is required to state the individual's name and title, if any, each time the individual begins speaking or voting so that the individual can be identified by remote listeners or observers. Citizens that submitted comments by 4 p.m. today to publiccomments@ottawaks.gov are given to the City Commission to be read during public comment or during discussion on an agenda item. The Commission must describe at the beginning of the meeting the process that will be used for a closed or executive meeting pursuant to KSA 75-4319 and amendments thereto. Mayor Wygand, you are on mute.
All right, Mayor Wygand speaking and unmuted. I want to call this meeting to order now, and I ask the Acting City Clerk, Misty Kemps, to call the roll.
This is Acting City Clerk Misty Kemps. Mayor Wygand.
I'm present.
Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Present.
And Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
We have all commissioners present. Thank you very much. And I want to welcome all of those who are with us tonight by either Facebook Live or on the radio or other media and telephone. So welcome to our meeting. With that, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the invocation by Commissioner Skidmore. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Michael?
Sure, let's pray. Father in heaven, we give you thanks that we still have the freedom in this country to come before you in prayer anytime, anywhere, even in these meetings like this. And we're just thankful for that. And Lord, sometimes it's hard to pray while we're in the midst of this pandemic. We see sickness and death around us. We just pray for the strength and endurance. We've been through tough times in the past, and I know you'll see us through this tough time as well. We do pray for our leadership. We pray for our national, state, and local leadership, our county commissioners, our school boards, and just give them wisdom and guidance and direction as they make the difficult decisions that are ahead of them all. And God, we lift up also with all of our medical staff, first responders, and the responsibility they have as they treat the sick. Just give them an extra measure of wisdom and guidance and direction too, as they help the people. And Lord, also we lift up our 2 funeral homes. I'm sorry to say sometimes they're needed, but Lord, when there is a time of need, they're very faithful and dedicated to their jobs as well. We give you thanks for them too. So Lord, as we look over this agenda, we just give you thanks that we can meet. We give you or ask for your direction and clarity of minds as we discuss these issues before us, and we make the right decisions. We lift this time to you. Thank you in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Skidmore.
Sure.
We do have a consent agenda that include the minutes of the October 5th, 2020 study session and tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I move that we
Taylor.
approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Crowley will second.
Been moved and seconded. If no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move to our regular agenda. Item 8 is public comments. Do we have any public comments tonight?
We do not.
Okay, we'll dispense with reading that item. At this time, I would like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication that they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Anyone have any issues with that? Hearing none, we will proceed to item 10. Misty, would you read the introduction to that?
This is Misty Kim's acting city clerk speaking. A public hearing for the purpose of considering condemnation of an unsafe and dangerous single-family structure located at 628 South Willow Street.
This public hearing has been called for the consideration of condemnation of a single-family structure located at 628 South Willow Street. City staff will present the details of this request for condemnation. We have Terry Elmer with us tonight, Chief Building Inspector. Do we? There's Wendy on. Terry, you're
Terry
up.
with the Chief Building Official. The purpose of this resolution is to request consideration for condemnation of the single family and accessory structures at the address of 628 South Willow. This house is in very blighted condition. I'm sorry, Wendy's going to try to work with the PowerPoint that I don't have. But this structure is in a blighted state, and we'd like to present this to you for consideration for condemnation. It has some history with it, and we tried to include that within this PowerPoint. So as you see on the PowerPoint, the owner was moved out just in 2019. And so we've been in communication, or I've been in communication with the property owners and spoken with them. They didn't necessarily know what to do with it. So from what I understand, just today we found out they potentially have a contract on this property. So with that, I don't know if we'd want to table this, or if we want to proceed forward with our recommendation for condemnation. It's got substantial damage to it. I know we've had concerns from the local neighbors about its state and its condition. So we've written them on multiple times over the years about the grass and the conditions of the house. But the house is in very deteriorated condition. And these pictures were taken in August. We don't have anything, I don't believe that's this month or last month. These were from August and September on this structure. So by condemnation or recommendation of condemnation on the particular property, this is a really nice lot. I mean, and it would improve the neighborhood considerably if someone would purchase this, whether they would choose to take it down or to renovate. Our recommendation that it just be removed from the property for condemnation. And so that's our request for consideration of condemnation on this particular property at 628 South Willow. And if you have any questions, I can take them now.
And Mr. Mayor, this is Wendy Lee. I'd offer that we should at least go through the public hearing process. Folks that have taken time to come or participate should be given an opportunity to communicate. And then, as you can see here on this slide, if you want to delay action because of any of the testimony, you're certainly able to do that. But since we called the public hearing, we want to hold it. And make sure that, and in fact, if you hear things that you want to give some time or thought to, we could also continue the hearing itself. But we wanted to at least allow anybody who, particularly because this was an action that was brought to us by the neighbors. We can't hear you, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Wigan, thank you, Wendy, for that. And I guess we will open the public hearing now if there are anyone in the audience or on the phone or Facebook that wants to comment at this time. We will give them an opportunity to do that. Do we know of anyone that wants to speak to this? Yes, sir. State your name, please.
My name is Mark Tegmeyer. I am the son of the owner of the property in question. We are working with a company out of Kansas City right now that has 2 offers on the table for the house. They want to come and look at it this weekend. And we would like to see if you would table your action for a couple of weeks until we can get the ball rolling and they can come and meet with the city and discuss their plans. The discussion is to renovate the property and bring it back to its former glory to improve the neighborhood. That's where we're at right now. They talked to me today. They couldn't make this meeting, but I told them I would get a hold of you guys and see if there would be something that you guys can do to help us move this along within the next couple of weeks, hopefully have it sold and a plan in place for the property.
Thank you, Mark, for being here and speaking for that. Is there any other questions? Any of the commissioners have any questions of Mark?
Commissioner Kaler actually has a question of Mr. Tegmeyer. Mr. Tegmeyer, can you tell me about the actions that you've taken prior to this? It appears as though the city has gone to extreme lengths to try and contact you, and honestly, the neighborhood's just really exhausted by it. And when we get a petition from neighbors saying, please, please, please help us, we wonder, I wonder, what have you done in the past to make this better, and why is now different?
Actually, the past issues have been lackluster on my part. I've had cancer over the last 2 years, multiple back surgeries, knee surgeries. I haven't been able to do a lot with the property. Those are excuses, but they are what they are. Now it's just, we understand now that we want to get rid of it. My mother's been sick the last few months. She's been in a nursing home, so getting her confirmation on what to do with it has been rough, especially with the COVID-19. But once we've got all that ball rolling and know that we want to get rid of it, we're wanting to get it done so that you guys can have this property out of your hair. It's just been laziness and other health issues that have been a problem with me. And so now we're trying to get it made right and hopefully get this done so that you guys don't have to worry about the property anymore.
Commissioner Kaler speaking, as a follow-up question, Mr. Tegmeyer, if we move forward with this, tell me what that does to your potential sale.
Well, if the condemnation and the demolition go through, I'm assuming that my sale will go through goodbye, and then the property is just going to sit there empty. What they're requesting is that the property be left standing so that the people that want to look at it have an opportunity to get a good feel for what the property looks like. The guys that I've talked to seem that they can repair the house. That yes, the exterior looks bad, but the interior, the bones of the property are actually in good shape. There's probably going to be extensive costs in it, but it can be done.
And condemnation doesn't necessarily, Mrs. Lee, can you explain the difference between if this was condemned, that doesn't mean tomorrow that it's going to be raised?
Yeah, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. So commissioners, these two structures, when we called these hearings, they're a little bit different than any we've called before because of the lack of communication and the severe deterioration. We actually prepared for you resolutions that did not give an option other than removal. I didn't hear from Mr. Tegmeyer until 4 o'clock today, so there was no way for me to prepare an alternative resolution for you. So I suggested to him that if he was going to call in, that the only action that I thought was possible was to continue it so that we could find out if his buyers really do understand the necessary licensing and work and schedule that they would have to do, and that we could come back and update you on that in a couple of weeks. The second property, we did have time because we started hearing from them yesterday to prepare an alternative resolution. But because we had not up to this point and felt that these structures were beyond the norm for us, we are supportive. And I told that to, I don't know that sure that I told to Mr. Tegmeyer, but I did tell it to the other property owner that as a rule, we support people's efforts to try and rehabilitate structures. But both of these structures were in such severe shape, and in this specific structure, the neighborhood was very unhappy. We didn't prepare that alternative. So if you want to give that alternative, that's perfectly fine. We just need time to prepare the documents for your adoption.
Thank you, Wendy. This is Mayor Wygand. I drove by that structure and I don't see any boards on the outside that would hold a nail or a screw. And I suspect the wiring, it's a good lot. It would be a great lot to build a house on. But this lot or this house, man, it's just months in a good storm till it's on the ground. And it's right now, I would think it'd be a danger to the neighbors as far as varmints and I don't know what else, but it really does look sad. Yeah, somebody spoke.
Commissioner Kaler speaking. I have said, and I've been on record since the very beginning, I dislike when we use public funds to take down a structure that is owned by a private citizen or a company. I dislike using my taxpayer dollars that I paid in, taxpayer dollars that everyone has paid in, spending our money to do that. So I also don't like it when people don't take care of their stuff. We shouldn't be in this place, but we are. And so we do have a different option though. And so we could, as Mrs. Lee had indicated, I mean, we could add that option onto the resolution in which that Mr. Tegmeyer has a short time frame. We have done this in the past. I believe Commissioner Jorgensen, I think you and I have done this before on a property, and maybe even Commissioner Skidmore was on the commission at that time too, when we gave kind of a shorter timeline and encouraged that that homeowner to get on it and do what they're saying they're going to do. And then if not, it's gone. And like I said, I don't like using taxpayer dollars to take down private residents, to take down property that is owned by a private citizen. But you know, maybe we give this person an opportunity and a very short, Mr. Tegmeyer, short leash to turn it around.
Commissioner Crowley here. Mr. Tegmeyer, I certainly appreciate your honesty and taking responsibility for, you know, the condition of the property. I'm sure it's not solely on your shoulders, but you were able to man up and take some of that responsibility. As you all probably know, I've redone some pretty bad houses here in town, and I think quite honestly that anything can be fixed. It just takes money. And if somebody's willing to put that money in, it certainly saves those taxpayer dollars that Commissioner Kaler's talking about. I'm also willing to, as long as we don't have to go through the process of rescheduling the meeting that we have right now and everything, I'm willing to also give Mr. Tegmeyer 2 weeks to kind of go through this process and see if he can sell the property. And at that point, you know, to me, it'd be kind of a last ditch effort at that point. And if so, great. You know, at least we can take that property, make it look better, as he said, and you know, get it off our shoulders and his shoulders. So I'm willing to go that route. Like I said, I think more so just because he was willing to take that responsibility on his shoulders.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Mayor Wygand. Wendy would, I think Commissioner Crowley said he's not. Are you willing to extend the hearing and for 2 weeks or to our next meeting to further discuss this, or to hear from the applicant or from the property owner? Or what is your thoughts, Eric?
I'm willing to do what Commissioner Crowley here. I'm willing to do what Wendy Lee had suggested with a 2 week extension. I think Mr. Tegmeyer needs to be extremely forthcoming with his potential buyers about, you know, kind of what we discussed tonight. But yes, I think the 2 week extension, but probably not much more. I don't think we should really go much farther than that.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Mr. Kaler speaking. I wonder if we might not want to let our city attorney weigh in on kind of the legalities of what our options are.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might, we've heard from the owner, but we probably ought to be sure if there's any other comments before you were to consider closing the hearing and discussing the action.
Okay. Okay, who does anybody who wants to step forward and speak to this? Any more comments? Okay, we need a motion to either extend the
Pardon me, Mayor
city
Wygan.
manager's instead has got the floor.
Pardon me, Mayor Wygan. I wonder
Yeah,
if
sure.
we might not want to yield to our legal counsel to address the options that we may have on the table.
Okay, is Blaine on here somewhere?
I'm not sure that he is.
All right.
Wendy Lee.
I'm here. I'm here,
there.
Wendy.
Okay. All right, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it, Blaine.
Mr. Mayor, Blaine Finch, City Attorney, your options are really twofold at this point. If you want to continue the public hearing for 2 weeks to allow that additional time, then I would recommend close the public hearing. You simply continue it for 2 weeks to get that additional information or additional input from the potential buyer that's been identified by Mr. Tegmeyer. That's option one, continue the public hearing for 2 weeks. Option two is that you would approve a resolution tonight. And I know even though planning staff has not prepared it, the language is fairly boilerplate on a resolution that would allow for repair to begin within a certain time period, usually 30 days. And if it has not, and if the progress is not diligently pursued by the owner, then the city is allowed to raise the structure and remove it by hauling it away. So I think you can approve a resolution with that language tonight, even if that resolution is not in front of you, because you've seen that language over and over again on your condemnation. So that would then give them 30 days to start the process. And if it were not begun, then you would go ahead and Wendy's staff would proceed with having the building torn down and removed from the city. So those are the two options: continue the public hearing tonight, 2 weeks to give the additional time, or go ahead and approve a resolution with the standard repair or remove language.
If Mayor Wygan here, I got a question, Blaine. If we continue the hearing in 2 weeks, then we could still do the resolution that if action isn't going forward in a positive manner, the city could step in and do that, because right now we're not giving the time. If we do the resolution now, we still have time to address it again and maybe talk to the buyers, or the buyers might just say, no, it's too much for us, or whatever, in the 2 week time frame we're giving them. Rather than doing the resolution tonight, we could draft the resolution by the next meeting.
And I think, Mr. Mayor, Blaine Finch, City Attorney, I think Wendy has a resolution for you that basically does not allow for the repair option. And you are correct. You could continue the public hearing for 2 weeks. If no progress is made or the buyers back out, you could adopt that resolution in 2 weeks, and planning staff would proceed to have the building removed.
Okay. Commissioners, what's your
Commissioner,
idea on this?
yeah, Commissioner Skidmore. Yeah, my concern would be if the buyer bought it and then wouldn't start working on it until next summer sometime. We don't want that. I agree
No.
with the 30 days. We got to start on something on this project. Now, my next question is, I don't know who to direct, would be with Terry or Wendy, who it would be, but Mr. Tegmeyer said the bones of the structure are solid. And I know that could be a subjective decision, but is there some way that we would be able to determine that, yes or no?
Terry Elmer, Chief Building Official. We could go into site. We haven't been into the property and made that assessment. Typically, we leave that up to the property owner. Our assessment is just a general assessment on the property and structure. So to have the owner say they, what they want to do with it. As Eric spoke earlier, anything's fixable. It just depends on how much you want to put on it. So that's why we don't necessarily want to make that recommendation. So it's repairable, because that's up to the property owner as far as how much expense they want to put into it.
Okay, thank you. And in my opinion, I'm fine with the 30-day, something gets started on it 30 days from now, but I don't know what the other commissioners would feel. That'd be my opinion.
Anyone else, Blake?
Mayor Wygand, this is Commissioner Jorgensen, and I concur with Mike. I think we do need to set a timetable on this. There's a potential buyer that has not seen the property, and so once a person lays eyeballs on the property, I've rehabbed some houses in pretty poor shape as well. And you get into it and start looking at it deeper. There are problems that can arise. So I think maybe we need to proceed, but with language that if repairs can be made, that we'll proceed with the new owner.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before we close the hearing? Any other comments before we close? Any other comments? Okay, we'll close this hearing. I got 7:28. So now we need a motion of how we're going to proceed. Any other discussion, commissioners, or is there a motion of how you want to proceed on this?
Mayor Wygand?
Yes.
This is Commissioner Jorgensen. I got a question for our city attorney. If we pass a motion with the resolution as written, can we rescind that motion at a later date?
Mr. Mayor, Blaine Finch, City Attorney, I would not recommend you pass a resolution that you do not intend to follow through on. I think your better bet is to direct staff to prepare the resolution using the standard language, which allows for repair to be within 30 days for demolition to commence, and to approve that resolution and concept, and the mayor can sign on completion of the drafting.
Mr. Mayor, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Here's the standard template language that our city attorney was referencing. Right here in section 2, unsafe structure shall be removed with work commencing within 10 days. And then, well, I'm sorry, maybe this is the first resolution. Let me, oh, here we go. I don't know if that's it either. Anyway, I was just going to offer, we do have a standard template. We can, if you want to provide a 30-day window to get started on the work, have their permit pulled, and be showing diligent progress, as you know, then we monitor that after that to the schedule that they've put together. You can make that a 30-day window or a 60-day. We usually don't give more than that. For really making substantial progress with a plan. And generally, just to be real clear so that Mr. Tegmeyer can share this, the plan includes building materials, a real clear understanding of all of the work that is to be done, a timetable, and the financial ability of whoever's buying it to complete that. So just for transparency's sake, if you give time, it's not time to put together a plan. It's put together a plan and get started.
I do understand that. This is Mark Tegmeyer. I understand that. Sorry.
I think that I want to be cognizant that we have a pretty substantial group of neighbors that have come forward with deep concerns about this particular property. And so if we are going to choose to give the delinquent owner a opportunity to make this whole again, I really want to do that on a very short timetable. And so I can't imagine being personally for anything more than 30 days. So I don't know if Commissioner Jorgensen was looking to make that motion, because it looks like you were making to that clarification, but just I have complete heartache about going much further than 30 days.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
This-
Commissioner Jorgensen.
This is Commissioner Jorgensen. I move that we approve the resolution to condemn the structure at 628 South Willow, allowing the owner substantial start of within 30 days.
There's a second to that motion.
Commissioner Skidmore will second that.
Is there any other discussion, commissioners? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Would the clerk call for the vote?
This is Acting City Clerk Misty Kim speaking, and I just want to clarify that we are voting on item 11, which was the request to approve the resolution to condemn, but with
No,
Commissioner Jorgensen's recommendation to, sorry, I lost track of where I was at, to allow the owner substantial start within 30 days. Is this correct?
right. It'd be a new resolution, not as described in item 11.
Yes, great. I just wanted to make that clear. Yes,
A procedural question here, Mayor. Richard Ninestead, City Manager. Misty, did they close? Did I miss it? Did they close the public hearing?
yes, it was.
We closed the
Right. Right. Thank you.
Wait, sorry, with all of that, how do you vote, Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
And Mayor Weigand?
I vote yes too. Motion carries. Now we move on to item 12.
This is Acting City Clerk Misty Kim speaking. A public hearing for the purpose of considering condemnation of an unsafe and dangerous single-family structure located at 819 East 8th Street.
This public hearing has been called for the consideration of condemnation of a single-family structure located at 819 East 8th Street. City staff will present the details of this request for condemnation. And Terry Elmer.
Terry Elmer, Chief Building Official. What we're bringing forth on this resolution is a consideration for condemnation on single family and accessory structures located at 819 East 8th Street. The hearing called for the second today. We've been working on this particular property since 2012, so it's got quite a bit of history, but I don't know, it's changed in ownership during that time frame. But it has a pretty lengthy history as far as what we've been doing on this particular property, asking for assistance to try to get resolution to the concerns we've had on this particular house and structure. So you can see in the packet, we were working on this in 2012, 13, 19, up into current 2020. I know in this year, we've changed ownerships. The prior owners have sold it this year, and we have a new owner on this particular property. But our request is that this property be considered for condemnation and its removal. You should have some updated information that we've sent out late this afternoon, that we have heard from the current owner. Yesterday and today, we had a meeting with him, and he is wanting to repair the structure, and he believes he has the ability and the time that he can do that, but for our consideration, we're looking at for our resolution is for condemnation based on the information we have here before you. I don't know if Wendy has a PowerPoint for this one.
I'm sorry, I thought it was showing it to you. Let me go back. I've been slowly going through the file, so just a second here. All right, can you see it now?
Yes.
I'm sorry about that.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so here's the history that Terry talked about. Here's the defects that are, we consider per the statute about the condition of it. Here are the images from June, and then even more deterioration evident in our August photos from earlier this year when we first were preparing to call the hearing. Same thing on the back of the house. You can see deterioration from last year to this year. That's fairly significant. So again, this hearing is to give an opportunity for others to speak as well. But as Terry said, we did prepare because we had a conversation and a Zoom meeting with Mr. Is it Burkhart? I'm sorry, Mr. Burnett. Sorry, he's on the phone. We had that meeting with him yesterday, and so he's present as well to talk with you. From what I've shared with him today, after we shared with you the information and an updated resolution and the documents that he had given to us, I had a return call finally from his banker who indicated to me that that letter was accurate in June, but at this time, he would not consider that letter something that the bank could fully support right now because of COVID and other situations, some out of the control of the owner. And so it would take a co-signer or some additional work on the owner's part in order to secure the financing. Like the other one, we finally have more of a plan. Mr. Burnett has given us a better estimate of the amount of work that we think it's going to take. He has some materials on hand if you had a chance to look at those images. But it is a significant uphill climb. Whereas he may have even believed he had the financial backing, I did communicate with him this afternoon after I heard from his banker that if you were to consider the second resolution that would allow him time, our support of that would really be predicated on a licensed contractor taking the permit. Either he would have to get licensed, which would take him passing the test, or he'd have to work with a licensed contractor. And he would have to have evidence of the financial wherewithal to do the necessary work. That's our recommendation. And then you can see what other folks have to say. He did have difficulty joining us at the beginning of the call, but I think he's on now.
Yes.
So Mr. Burnett, it's your opportunity to say what you want them.
Wendy?
Yeah, sorry.
We should open the hearing, shouldn't we?
Okay, I thought you already had.
Okay, let's open this hearing at 20 minutes until 8 and hear from the owner of the property. You're on.
Hello?
Yeah, Steve.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I have the means and the necessary capability to put the structure back together. I have taken other properties in worse condition and make them livable. Now, I would like to have this property as my main house, as I don't have a residence to call home yet. I have a kitchen, bathroom, tubs, vanities, roofing material and siding that I'm able to get to at a cost that you can't get anywhere else because I shop. I've got over 30 years experience in framing, building, structural, from roofing, electrical, siding, windows, doors, all the way down to the foundation. I have a letter from recommendation from the city of Osawatomie that has details of 5 properties I have done from the ground to the ceiling to the roof. And I have another letter from a previous boss that I worked for over 10 years, or around 10 years, I'm sorry, that would tell you the same thing, that I built 4 or 5 houses without him even being there. I've got extensive background in everything I've done, and because you guys have problems in the past, I feel like that the city commission that I've been talking to is not being very fair to me in a timely matter, because they've had problems with the past owners. And all I'm asking for is a little bit of time to be able to take this property back into its glory days.
Steve, may I ask, this is Mayor Wygan, I ask, how long have you owned the property?
Around 6 months. I have bought 4 other properties on top of this one. So this one was not in that main concern of me, because I have to get these other rentals ready that I had so that I can just sit and collect my money and have time to work on this project.
So, Commissioner Kaler speaking. So, when you purchased this property 6 months ago, was it in this condition?
Yes. And that's what I don't understand. When I bought it, if you were going to condemn it then, you should have done it before I bought it. But it wasn't that fact. And for it to sit there for 8 to 10 years, and then all of a sudden I'm getting attacked because you guys want it done right this minute, and I've got other concerns that's more in my concern important to me, because that's how I make my living, is from other people.
Sir, I understand that you're upset and that you probably, and not probably, you feel like that you're being targeted here. We maintain a list of properties, and by all means, our budget doesn't allow us to address all of the properties that are blighted in our community. And so I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm very sorry you feel that way. I know that you had indicated that you had brought some information forth about some Osawatomie properties that you had worked on. I wonder if there's somebody from community development that may want to address that and see if there's been any follow-up, or what's the situation on that information?
Well, how about the people that are living in them? I mean, I've taken the very worst one the city had at the time when I purchased it, that it didn't have flooring, windows, doors, roofs, and 3/4 of the foundation was gone. And I put it all back by myself, electrical, plumbing, and all. That's what that letter is from Ted Bartlett from the city of Osawatomie. He was an inspector in 2007, I believe, for the 4 years. And then a new inspector came in. His name's Ed. And when Mr. Terry talked to Ed, Ed does not know me or the experience I had with the other inspector before him.
Commissioner Kaler, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. We do have the letter. It does indicate it's a former employee, and obviously Mr. Burnett just indicated to us that's quite a bit longer ago than I realized. I know Terry did contact the city of Osawatomie. They don't require licenses. And I know he talked to the current official there, Terry, so if you want to offer anything, but my understanding was he wasn't as familiar with Mr. Burnett's work, and did have some concerns about ongoing maintenance of some of those structures as well. Terry?
Yeah, Terry, Chief Building Official. I have spoken with the current Osawatomie building official. His history, as Mr. Steve was speaking of earlier, is very limited compared to the prior, I guess, building official. So his recommendation, he was saying he knows of the work he's done is pretty minimal amount of repairs and remodeling. So that's what we were working off of, was based off that information from the current building official and what history he could give us on his experience. Now, I know he does have the letter from his previous employer stating the work history and what he has knowledge and abilities to do. So those are beneficial, but ultimately what it's going to come down to is what is the structural integrity of this particular structure. I've seen on site, I know our current building inspector has also seen this property on site. Neither one of us feels that it should be renovated or has the potential of renovation. I've gone so far and requested one of our other local contractors to drive by, and he did by chance have history of this property, and he was saying it is beyond repair. So again, that's going to be up to how much a potential property owner is willing to invest in it and how much money they have available to do this. Because I do, as everyone keeps stating, we don't want to get into the middle of it and then someone runs out of the money to complete the project and we're left where we started from. We're actually in worse condition than what we are currently.
Mr. Mayor Wygan, I'd like to ask Steve a question. Steve, did you know that this has been on the city concern for 8 years when you bought the property, and that we were going to take some kind of action or get the property improved? Were you aware of that?
What I was aware of was that the city had put a notice to the previous owner that it needed to be fixed and it was not livable in its current condition. So when I bought it, and I had talked to Terry at the time, and that I was going to bring it back into its regular condition it was before it got into its situation it is now. And like I said before, I've done bigger projects in worse conditions. I mean, I can walk right in the top of that building and go upstairs, shake the whole floor, and it doesn't move. So what they see is just an eyesore, in my opinion, and they just want it tore down, which is fine. If that's what you want to do, go ahead. But in my opinion, I think I can save it. I can take even pictures. I have pictures of the very first building that I did to its previous conditions to its now, where I have renters in it for the last 4 years.
Do you think the roof, the rafters, the windows, the frame, the squareness, the plumbing, the wiring, all of that can be repaired economically and in a restricted amount of time? It looks to me from the pictures and driving by it that it is really about to fall down. It's twisted, the porch is off, the roof is bad, the windows are out. The economics of repairing this, you'd have a more valuable lot if it was scraped.
I understand your concerns. Okay, so what? I take off the back end that collapsed on the floor. Bam, what's that, 10 foot by 12 foot? I build a wall in there, shut it off. Rafters in the back end, okay, those are easy to replace. You take off the roof, put some sheeting on there, replace the rafters. The front porch, I didn't plan on keeping it. I was going to take that off. I mean, really, like I said, it's just nice people. Electrical only costs a few $100. Plumbing is plastic. Siding, I can get it for $24 a sheet. Roofing, I can get it for $16 a bundle. You can't even get that now. You try to go get it, it's $27 to $22 a bundle. Siding is anywhere from $40 to $50. I sent pictures over to Wendy last night on the pricing of the materials on those two things, where I get them at in Buckner.
So,
I'm
Commissioner
thinking,
Kaler,
Mr. Burnett.
on just a student loan.
Commissioner Kaler has a question.
Yes, Commissioner Kaler speaking. Mr. Burnett, I'm sorry that has happened. And we are all paying different prices than we were a year ago, than we were maybe 6 months ago. And and it hurts a lot of, many of our pocketbooks. I get that. And it sounds like it's a tremendous dent into yours. I have to kind of go back to the foundation of this. And my concern is that you bought this property about 6 months ago, and it sounds like you met with city staff, but nothing has been done. And I said, just like I said with the last one, I do not like using public dollars when a private person owns their property and doesn't take care of it. So I know that you bought it in a certain condition, but it's not in better condition than it was 6 months ago. You haven't improved it, but I wonder, what you said you had a plan. Have you developed that plan and already put that forward? Is that plan sitting in community development? Is that a conversation that you've had and you've already pulled the permits? You've already done all that. You're working it. You've done what you need to do to move it forward. You've done that?
Ma'am, I have already tried that. And Terry was going to give me permits the very first day I talked to him. And then his secretary, I don't remember her name, said that she could not because it was in condemnation. And every time I try to step forward to proceed, and as you claimed yesterday that you guys got nothing, I had to resend it to you.
I'm not sure what
the letters I sent to you yesterday, I sent those forward to Terry at that time after I the house. And every time I try to step forward, I always got, we never got this, we never got that. So yes, I have tried. And until now, nobody's even tried to help me. What can I do if I don't get this and I didn't get that? When the letters and dates are there in the pictures and the photos of what I sent you.
Steve, this is Mayor Wygant. I got another question. When you bought the property, did you investigate whether the city would, where the city stood on it, and whether the city would approve your efforts to bring it back into condition for a residence? Did you talk to anyone about that at that time 6 months ago? 6 months gives you enough time, even with people on vacations and out of the office and those kinds of things.
Yes,
and
sir.
So that's a concern.
Yes, sir. I talked to Terry the day of or the day after I bought the property. And this is what I'm telling you. When I walked in there, I talked to him and he was getting ready to give me permits that day. And then when he talked to his secretary in the front, she said she could not give me any. And then he asked why. And then he goes, you need to proceed this way, in letters from my previous owner. The previous person that I worked for, the banker, everything that I just resent Wendy, I did this in July. I've done this actually 2 times before, and not yet have I been able to go forward.
Commissioner Crowley here.
So,
Mr. Burnett,
yes, sir.
You probably know nothing about me. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I've done remodeling of houses for about 10 years. I've taken some of the worst houses here in town and have spent plenty of money and time to bring them to the condition that they're in now also. What I want to talk about, obviously, is some of the information that I do have that is yours. I'm sitting here looking at a list of things that you are intending on doing and the cost of those lists or those things. And keep in mind, I'm also a contractor. I've been in construction 23 years, and some of these numbers I can't even justify. And I'm a licensed, and I'll go through them with you, but I'm a licensed master electrician too. And if you can do electrical for $2,600 on a new house, I'd like to hire you, because I can't even do it for $2,600 for material alone on a new house. So
That's because
just, go ahead.
May I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's because I have materials that you can't get. I have them already. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody.
Sir,
I have lights.
Mr.
I
Burnett,
have all the.
Mr.
Okay,
Burnett,
yes.
let me remind you, I'm a master electrician. I own my own electrical company. That material you're talking about is in my business right now. I own all that material. Like I said, I can't even do it for my own properties for that amount of money. Second of all, you have a total of $29,000 to renovate this property.
Yeah.
Just renovated a property similar to this with it was less than 700 square feet, and I spent double that. So I'm not understanding. I don't see anything on your list for gutters, siding, plumbing, foundation, trim, insulation, subfloor, flooring, tile work. I don't see anything on there, which to me, if you have a budget of $40,000, you're going to run out of money.
Okay, let me see. The structural actually has nice hardwood floors in it. Carpet don't cost squat. I've been doing this for 4 years as far as for myself, and materials I have in my garage. I've already bought it years ago.
Okay.
So, I mean, what you're seeing is right off the rack, and I'm telling you, I already have it in my garage. I sent photos to Wendy of these things.
Yep, and I saw those photos. A few other questions. Can I ask why you said that you wanted to use this as your primary residence? Does that mean you don't live in the city of Ottawa right now?
No, I lived in Overland Park for 20-some years. Then I moved to Missouri.
Okay.
Now, all my properties are an hour and a half away from me.
Okay.
So if I move closer, then I can have my main residence within 30 minutes of my properties.
Okay. And the reason I asked that question is because you keep referring to these as other rentals, which to me keeps telling me that you're going to consider this one a rental also.
Okay. If I have a place to live to call my house, it's my house.
Okay.
I mean, I really do not have a place to live. I'm paying over about $1,100 a month in a house that I do not own. So if I put that money towards the house that I will live in, then I will keep that money in my pocket, right?
Sure, and I understand that. You made a comment earlier on in your conversations about how the city's not being fair to you. You don't feel that the city's being fair to you. Well, the city's just trying to make sure that everybody abides by the same rules. And quite frankly, it's not fair to licensed people like me that maybe somebody like you might come in, and it has happened before, might come in and you do work under the pretense that you're going to live there, and then you don't move in, and then you get to reap all the benefits that the other of us that actually live here and pay our local tax dollars don't.
Okay, now do you see what you just said? You're basically telling me you don't want me in your city.
Not true, sir.
Because
I didn't say that at all. I just want you to abide by the rules that every city has.
And I do. The housing I have in Osawatomie have passed every code they have thrown at me. I abide by their laws, by their codes, and everything else. I don't do anything half-assed. Now, Mr. Ed Bartlett, the new building inspector, I have one property that I keep down to minimal because I have people that want to live in my houses, but you know what happens? They get messed up. They don't get taken care of. So I put those people in this one property. That's the only one I have that I barely keep minimum. I have 9 of them. Okay. And if you want me to, I take pictures that I have of all of them and show you the conditions of them were into the 1920s to the 2020. Okay.
Thank you. And just one other thing, if you, just so you understand, and I'm not if you've heard the prior explanation of the condemnation, even if we do approve the resolution to condemn this property, it doesn't mean that, well, let me stop back. Because I think they were requesting that it be torn down. Now,
Yes.
if we went, I think there was also remind me of this, Wendy, that we were going to maybe approve it with the condemnation but allow him to commence work if he were to use licensed contractors. Am I correct there?
So Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development, when we were showing you the PowerPoint, my comment was, as staff, we still believe that the structure should be removed. But because he had provided additional materials, we prepared for you a second resolution that would give him 30 days to get started and show this. But our recommendation was the conditions on that be that either he get a general contractor's license or have a general contractor working with him, and that he have financing evidence to us as the letter he provided is now false.
Commissioner Crowley here, and thank you for that. I think Mr. Burnett is eager to get going, and I think if we were to do the resolution with, or to approve the resolution, but give him the ability to move forward with, those licensed contractors, that I think we could quite honestly suffice both the city and Mr. Burnett.
May I speak?
Commissioner Kaler would concur with what Commissioner Crowley, or what Commissioner Crowley had just said. I do think there's some value into allowing the owner to have an opportunity to rehab it. We're just not going to wait forever, Mr. Burnett. And honestly, I'm not much past waiting 30 days to see some major movement. So
Okay.
I want you to have the opportunity, though. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Again, I understand what you're saying, but this property has been sitting like this for over 9 years, 8 years. And then I get it within less than 6 months. And again, I don't feel like I'm being very fair considering that I just bought it. And I took the steps when I first bought it to go forward, but I couldn't get anywhere because all I got was stonewall. But now you guys are wanting me to push when I have other things I'm doing that are more important to me, which I don't got a problem moving forward at all. But you're asking me to have a contractor come in, and that's more money out of my pocket. That takes away from the property. Okay. So to me, it doesn't sound like I know you're being fair, but you're not. Because if I'm supposed to take money and put it somewhere else for someone else to take, then what's the point of me going forward? Because I am the money. I'm the one who does the labor work. I'm the one who does the sweat and tears. It's coming out of my pocket.
Commissioner Skidmore would like to speak. Mr. Burnett, how soon could you get the financing? How soon could you get started on this property?
Well, I talked to Wendy and I told her I was going to start around the middle of January. I would like to start with the foundation since it's stone, from the ground up.
So you're asking for 45 days?
Before I can start, yes. Because like I said, I think you guys are not treating me very fair in demanding that I get it started right away. I need time because I'm right in the middle of trying to finish one of my rentals so I can do all I can to be on this house. And I've explained this several times to her. And I don't mind. I will stop on my project and go forward with this one.
Okay.
Mr. Burnett, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. You did offer in your written remarks that you wanted to start in January, and I offered to you that the commission might not grant that length of time. But I think the commissioner's question was, how soon can you get financing in place?
Right. Well, as well, how much do I need? That's the question. I have most of my materials already to get started. You know, that's the question. I mean, you're going to tell me I need financing, what, 20 days, 30 days? What if I don't have it? Does that mean that I don't go forward? I mean, as long as you're seeing progress going forward, as I stated in that letter that you asked for, then I should be able to go forward or don't. That's where I'm pretty much at. Because
Okay.
rafters and shingles and all that do not cost that much, especially when I get them for less than half of price of materials.
Commissioner Skidmore speaking. So, Mr. Burnett, my concern would be that you get into the project, you get started, and let's say in February, you're still not able to get financing to finish the project, and you've got a house half completed, and then we have the difficult decision of going in and still voting to demolish the house at that point. You understand the risk?
Yes, but let me ask you this, Mr. Commissioner. What if I got the structural sound as far as the roof, the foundation, and exterior walls? Would you then give me more time? If I had those done, where the siding's on, windows in, roof's done, and the foundation is finished?
By when?
March. I don't think that's asking too much, considering it's been sitting for over 8 years.
I sometimes think that we do people favors by not doing what they want. This house is going to be a real problem to save, to make it habitable, to pass city codes, to get the proper materials in there in the right time frame. You knew what you were buying when you bought it. It is a shame that you and I and you and us have come to this juncture when there was so many things that could have been done during the prime building season, during the last 6 months, that could have avoided this night. And I'm concerned that going forward, we have winter, we have rain, we have snow, we have money problems, we have all of these things, and we're going to be sitting here next May, June saying,
Can I ask you a
"God,
question?
we should have saved that guy some money, but just taken the house down."
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do builders build in the winter? Do framers frame in the winter? Do roofers roof in the winter? I believe the answer is yes. Foundations get poured, roofers roof, carpenters. So that thing of the rain and stuff, I've done it for 30 years, sir.
I
I've worked in
understand that. I
So
understand that. I wish you'd have done it for the last 6 months.
Well, I would have if the city would have helped me, but they didn't. I got stonewalled for the first 2 weeks. I mean, those letters were in July, the ones that are in front of you. And every time I try to go forward, all I got was, I never got this and I never got that.
Commissioner Kelly here again. Mr. Burnett, just to kind of respond to your comment about, what contractors do during the winter. You are correct that every one of us do work through the winter. My concern is that you'll be doing that work on other properties instead of that property, just like you've mentioned before about needing that money in order to live. So you have to understand my hesitation here about, not wanting to vote condemning this because of, some of the things that you've said.
You vote however you need to, sir. I know how it is. I've built for 30 years in the worst weather you can think of. I was in the rain still working in my galoshes and a rain suit. Okay? I've been shocked several different thousand times. I've had nails go through me, saws cut a finger. I've done it all. So It's up to you guys. I'm not going to fight with you guys. I think I can do it. I know I can do it. And I have the time to do it.
Okay, is there anyone else who want to speak to this property? Is there any neighbors? Did neighbors request anything in that regard? Okay. All right, let's, if we have no more, let's close this public hearing at 12 minutes after 8 o'clock. And commissioners, we need to make a decision here. Well, I think we've expressed our concerns pretty well, and we hate to spend money. We'd like to work with citizens, but I think we've got a situation here that past experience indicates future results in this case. But Commissioner Kaler, go ahead.
Mayor Whitehead,
Thanks.
with the public hearing closed, I would just for clarification before I make the motion, can we, is there a resolution, Mrs. Lee, already prepared, just for clarification, that would allow the same amount, the same terms that we did with the previous property, the 30 days to see progress? Is that prepared, or is that something that you have? If you did send it, and I'm sorry I didn't get it, it doesn't mean.
Commissioners, as I look over the two resolutions, I'm not clear that that language is correct in here. We do have template language. We just need to know if you want to allow for either repair or removal and the time period, and that's the language we'll have in there. I just need to know your date. We have those standard resolutions that all we put in it is the legal and the address. So I unfortunately, I think the two resolutions still lend themselves to only removal. And if you want to consider something besides removal, we need to be sure we get Misty the right resolution.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. I appreciate it. Commissioner Kaler speaking. I would make a motion to pass a resolution that would allow repair within 30 days or removal, similar to the prior resolution that we had passed earlier today.
Is there a second to that motion?
Commissioner Crowley will second.
Okay. Under further discussion, my concern is that Mr. Burnett does some work, puts a foundation on it, takes the porch off, and then doesn't do anything for 30 days or so. He's in worse shape. We're in worse shape. We're worse guys. I'm just concerned about doing that unless we do something that it has to be done in stages. Roof, foundation, walls, roof, and watch it proceed on a timely basis. You can't do a foundation this month and then 2 months later come back and do some work on the roof and the walls and take out a window or something like that. How are we going to manage that?
I believe that. Sorry. Yes, Mrs. Lee, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kaler. Commissioner Kaler, go ahead.
I believe, Commissioner Kaler speaking, I believe that we have some history with the city of Ottawa of being able to help individuals with a timeline. And what I understand, and Mrs. Lee can certainly clarify that if I understand wrong, is that as long as the repairs are moving forward in a consistent basis and in a timely manner, then we are all about helping them make that residence be a good residence for the city of Ottawa. So I'm not saying that 30 days means that everything has to be done within 30 days. I'm saying it needs to get started. We're not waiting until March.
Mr. Mayor, typically, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Typically, once we have your time period, so inside the 30 days, a permit has to be issued. As I said, this is going to require a general contractor license. And then it's up to you whether he provides a financial plan. But typically all of that is required, and then work has to begin and continue. And any gap of more than say a 2-week period with no work commencing or no communication from the owner puts the property at risk for our action of demolition. We will take bids on the demolition so that we're prepared to act if that should be necessary. There have been times, and I shared this with Mr. Burnett when we talked yesterday, where there have been times where someone started on a project and unfortunately did invest their funds, but then could not complete it. And we did end up having to do the demolition, and that he has to understand that risk, which he seems willing to understand the risk of investing in something that if he can't complete in a timely manner and keep it moving, then he's at risk for that loss.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion, right, and a second. Did we have a time frame on that motion?
30 days.
30 days from the 1st of January?
Typically this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Typically the 30 days starts after the required notices are communicated and the required mailings are made.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? I call for the vote.
This
Misty?
is Acting City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
And Mayor Weigand?
Hesitant, yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And good luck, Steve Burnett. Okay, next. We have item 13? No,
14, I believe.
14.
This
Would you go ahead?
Sorry, I apologize. This is Acting City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. Request for approval of resolution to waive the statutory requirement to use generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP-based accounting for fiscal year 2020.
A resolution authorizing the City of Ottawa, Kansas to request the Director of Accounts and Reports to waive the statutory requirement to use GAAP-based accounting for the reporting fiscal year of 2020. And we have Brian Knipe with the Finance Department to speak to that. Brian?
Hi, this is Brian Knipe. I'm finance consultant for the city on an interim basis or temporary basis. All of you guys have approved these before. It's a standard every year process so that we can report on what's called the Kansas budgetary basis of accounting. It's a cash basis modified by encumbrances and accounts payable. And so just needs to be done so that our financial statements are in compliance. If anybody has any questions, I can take those.
Commissioner Skidmore, make the motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
This is Commissioner Jorgensen. I move to approve the request as stated in item 14 of the agenda.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Commissioner Skidmore, second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion, guys? Any questions? If not, I call for the vote. Misty?
This is Acting City Clerk Misty Kemp speaking. How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Mayor Weigand?
I vote yes also. Motion carries. Now we have a report by the city manager who has several items here for us. I thought we have, Richard, you want to go over these? It's the TIF district amendment resolution calling public hearing.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor's Richard Neinstead, city manager, almost called myself city commissioner there. Sorry, a long night. We have two things to bring up under my time. One of them is the TIF annexation, which we discussed a couple of weeks ago at a study session. It should have been on the agenda, and I just overlooked it. So Mrs. Lee will handle that discussion. And then we have an American Eagle organization loan. As you recall, AEO donated money to us to make loans out to businesses. And you have not discussed this before, and I apologize. If we'd had a meeting Monday, it would have been on there. But we have gone ahead and asked your good graces in considering this loan tonight, because this is exactly, I think this loan is a good example of what AEO wanted to accomplish in the community. And Mrs. Lee will lead that discussion also. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you're muted.
Okay, Ms. Lee, would you comment on this?
I would be happy to. This is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. It has been a long night, so I appreciate your patience and that of those that have been with us. In addition to what I will offer to you, we have worked with Tyler Ellsworth, our bond counsel, as we always do when we're considering things to do with tax increment financing. I am once again going to share screen here in a few minutes as well, so that we can show the visual of the maps. As you all know, the South 59 district was our first and original TIF district, and was put in place originally for the Loves project. But as we shared with you, when we began doing development for Proximity Park, as part of rights of way and easement negotiation with some property owners, they requested that they be annexed into that TIF district. And so it's been a long year, and we finally had an opportunity to put this in front of you. By passing this resolution, you would be calling a public hearing for in January. I have communicated with both the county and the school district that this item was being considered, and I forwarded to them the packet of information that you had at your study session when we first talked about this. And so I'll show you the graphic just for the public's sake. The original TIF district is, as you can see here on the screen, the Loma Vista property, some properties then along 23rd Street, the Loves and Granger site, a little section back of Mr. Shea's property, the Todd properties, and the Fogel property. I want to show you the other picture. The proposed district, you can see, would be, the additions are what is illustrated here in green. Include some properties that have been annexed into the city that benefit from the extension of infrastructure that we've done out there, both for development along US 59 as well as Proximity Park. So that includes properties on the west side of 59 across from the Loves intersection. It includes the rest of the Shea property, as well as the property south of Kingman that made the first request. And so this is what would be included should you call a hearing and then act on it at that time. Be happy to answer questions, and I'm sure Tyler would as well. I'm going to stop the share, but then if you decide you want to see that again, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Tyler, you have anything to add to that? Yeah, we got anything? Tyler?
No, thank you, Mayor. I do not.
Commissioners, how about you? Any comments? We've seen this. And we're asking to approve. Where's my notes? Oh, we'll call a hearing for the, what do you want to do, the first meeting, first regular meeting in January? Does that time frame work?
Mr. Mayor, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. Yes, the resolution that is before you provides for the notice and then calls the hearing for January 6th at 7 p.m.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kaler?
I move that we call a hearing for January 6th at 7 p.m. To discuss the properties as indicated by Mrs. Lee in her presentation.
Commissioner Jorgensen will second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign, motion carries. So January 6th it is. Richard, City Manager, you have discussed the loan request and you're asking for our approval. Is that correct?
Commissioners, Mrs. Lee will give you the information on the loan request, a summary, so that the public is aware of what we're requesting you to do.
Mr. Mayor, this is Wendy Lee, Director of Community Development. The AEO loan fund came from American Eagle Foundation. They initially gave us $50,000 for us to create a revolving loan fund. We have loaned out two $5,000 loans to date. That was the guidelines provided for $5,000 as per approved by the city manager. But if it exceeded that amount, it needed to come back to the governing body because you wanted to be sure that we were trying to loan to as many entities as possible. Given the length of time we've had the fund, however, when this request came in, the committee agreed that this would be a good one to forward on to you for consideration of a loan amount that exceeds the $5,000. Vibe Interactive LLC really needs a bridge loan. They have been a lot of their income stream ceased and they were unable to function because of COVID and because of learning, not being in the classroom, et cetera. They've been diligent in seeking alternative funding streams. And while they've identified one that will result in income starting again end of the month, 1st of January, they are behind and need funds for working capital in the interim. They've provided to us a list of invoices and amounts. And so their loan request amount is $11,663.03, retaining 2 jobs. The term, as we've put together in a draft agreement, would be for 4 months. Actually, I think in one of my discussions with them, it was 3 months, but we would put it in for 4 months. They would pay 0% because AEO's guidelines were that for the first 12 months, they would not pay interest, and it was if they exceeded that. However, this is a bit more than we originally had. So what we negotiated with them is that it would be 0% for the 4 months, but if there was something that inhibited their ability to repay, at that point, they would incur interest at a rate of 2% for whatever remaining balance there is on this loan. And both of the joint owners are on the call, Melissa Powelson and Jody Grover, and I thank them for their patience as well because they've been on for a while now.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Richard.
Richard Ninestead, City Manager, and for the public's sake, and just to remind the commission, these applications are not done in a vacuum. We have a committee that handles CDBG and handles this, and that committee is comprised of myself, Mrs. Lee, John Cohen, who is president of the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce, and Paul Bean, who is president of who's director of Franklin County Development Council.
Thank you. Interesting about the amount. I'm taking it that 3 cents is yours and Wendy's 3 cents worth on this deal. But
I have to tell you, actually, when I was drafting the agreements, I actually started to take it out, but I have literally processed all the information for you and for accounts payable so that they were prepared to do it with that number. So I thought, nope, we're just going to leave it in there. That's precisely the request they made, and that's okay.
Okay. Royce, are you there? I'm not seeing anybody.
It's Melissa Powelson and Jody Grover.
Oh, Jody, I see.
And
Jody?
Melissa's picture is here. She's on too.
Who's going first here?
Jody, you want to go?
Oh,
We can see Melissa.
Sure. I see a lot of familiar faces, and thanks for your consideration on this. If you want a little background, it's for social, emotional, mental health. And those of you who know me spend a lot of time in the school system, and I just ended that to help with the last 5 years we've been building to help kids in school, whether if they're in school or online, which is awesome with everything that's happened right now, to really help teachers and school systems identify those in trauma with mental health needs, and with our other funds that we are being able to go after with grants. We've been received very well, partnering with mental health facilities and with partnering with schools, and to help threat assessments and a lot of the crisis that's happening around our states right now. So thank you for your consideration. If you guys have questions about anything, please let me know.
Thank you. Melissa, you got anything to add to that?
Yes, I will. First of all, I appreciate you guys, like she said, having us for consideration. And to kind of give you a little background, our research team is Penn State University, and we were just integrating with a lot of North Lyon County schools and doing some things at the minute COVID hit. So as you know, that kind of is what really hit us hard, because when COVID hit, schools did what? They were shut down. So we continued our research team and all the trauma pieces that go with it, and partnered with ESDAC and into some USDA grants and the Department of Justice grants that we will be receiving. But like anything, there's some delay. For instance, the Department of Justice grant was supposed to be announced in September, but it was a month and a half late. So with some of these things, it's pushed us. We had to let go of some staff. Jody and I really had to dig deep and continue doing what we're doing, but find a way through this with us being where we were. And so this gave us a good opportunity. We are right there where we received this grant. We're totally excited with what that's going to do for us. And we're just needing that bridge in between this time and that time to get us to that next level, and hopefully be able to reach even schools that are right there within our community in Ottawa as well.
Fantastic. How'd you hear about this money?
Well, we've already done several
I'm just curious.
kind of get-togethers with, go ahead, say that.
No, I'm just curious if our advertising or our publicity got out to you.
No, I'm gonna I'm gonna need your help here. Jody, Cohen?
Yeah, John.
Is it John Cohen? Am I saying that
John
right?
Cohen.
Okay.
Great.
We met with John actually last year when we were doing some stuff. We have a telehealth grant with the USDA right now. And so we kind of met with him and just wanted to show him kind of what we had, since we're a community, within the Franklin County community. And we shared that with him. So I called him and I said, here's kind of what we're looking at to bridge between the grant that we just received and kind of where we're at right now with our struggle. And he said, here's what I want you to do, because you guys have already been in here and talked to me. I know you well. And he kind of guided me to Wendy. And then Wendy's just been amazing with helping us kind of go through the pieces of what we needed to provide and what that looked like. So it was a really neat process. I will tell you that, with the way that you guys have obviously worked through that process before. And we were able to get that to her. Probably she kind of had to, give us this and that, because I hadn't done this before, but she really knew what, we were supposed to provide, and it worked very easy. So.
Great. Thank you for that. Commissioners, got any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Please.
This is Commissioner Jorgensen. I move to approve the loan request as presented.
Commissioner Kaler will second.
Commissioner Kaler seconded. Any other discussion?
Commissioner Skidmore.
Go ahead, Commissioner Skidmore, pardon me.
I just wanted to commend these ladies for their work in this area. I think it's been a very unusual year. You're using some creativity to make things better for our kids. And so Melissa and Jody, just congratulations to you both for this. I think it's a great thing.
Great. It is a good thing, and it's especially during this time.
And Commissioner Kaler would like to speak, please.
Commissioner Kaler.
Yeah, thank you. I know I've been pretty adamant that I want to speak about this, because oftentimes our bankers talk about banking and they talk about financing, but very often there's not very many opportunities that I have to talk about social work. And I'm a social worker, and I got to tell you that in my current role, it is extremely scary about what's going on in our community. And I don't think that the community and the world in general understands that the mental health struggles that are brought on by COVID are extremely real and extremely deep. And I appreciate what Melissa and Jody are doing. I appreciate that they are serving individuals who, you know what, maybe a year ago, we didn't think that they needed help or assistance, which isn't a sign of weakness. Actually, I think it's a sign of strength when you say that you need help. But now they do. And we are seeing that individuals really do need extra support. And we're all important. We're all imperfect, as my little sign says in the back. And COVID has really done a number on the mental health of our community. So the only concern that I might have is that I heard Melissa say, or maybe it was Jody say, that we hope to work with the Ottawa community. Are you working with the Ottawa community? Because that's as a part of this.
That's yes, absolutely. We have addressed Dr. Cobb's and what they have at this time. We didn't have everything completed at the time of the presentation. And as I spoke with him, they have some things in place, but ours is assessing and being able to give that longitudinal piece. And you know, as a social worker, how important that is. And so we will go back to the board, and then with what we started with the mental health facility in Emporia, we want to bring to this area. And so absolutely, it's just, we are, you know, on the verge of getting all the analytics done, and then we'll have all of that completed to do the appropriate presentation. So, you know, I lived in Ottawa for 15 years and I moved back in town. And so absolutely.
Well, Commissioner Kaler, I am so excited to hear about this. And please know that what you're doing is important. And actually it's pretty innovative for actually the area that we're in. So yeah, and it's so important. So thank you. My comments are done.
And I want to thank you for your, I want to thank you for your patience of listening to this way too long meeting tonight. But we're going to take some significant action here. We have a motion and a second, and let's do this with the all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, good folks, for letting us help, and American Eagle for being involved in this also. Don't forget that. Richard, I've got a question. We've got, what do we got? We got two $5,000 loans, and this loan is what we've been out. And so we've still got some money if someone's listening tonight that has a need.
We do. We still have money in AEO, and we still have money available through the CARES CDBG funds. We still have some of those funds left. Now we have to get the CDBG CV funds, COVID funds, out the door by December 30th. So if there's any interest, if there's a small business out there, if there's a business that could use those monies, that's what they're here for. And if you'll contact Mrs. Lee, she will walk you through the process. She's an expert at that now.
Very good. As the old bankers would say, it is the season of loaning. So we will do that as soon as we can. Let's see, we covered everything. We got the, okay, I think we're up to city manager report.
My report.
If my glasses.
City commissioners.
That's it? Okay. Commissioners? Commissioner Jorgensen.
It's been a long evening. I have no report.
Commissioner Crowley.
I have just a short one here. In a prior meeting, Commissioner Kaler and our city manager shared their Mask Up Kansas sheet, and I want to share mine tonight, if I might. It says, I wear a mask, and I X'd out because I wanted to say for our future. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean just my future, my family's future. I mean everybody's future. I mean everybody who's lucky enough to survive this horrible disease that's been happening to us for 10 months now. We've had a pretty crummy 2020. We've missed out on weddings, graduations, vacations, holidays, all sorts of things. And I think we all deserve a do-over for 2020. And hopefully January 1, we can start that. And if it takes me wearing this mask to have our future, I certainly will. So that's my my thing for tonight. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Commissioner Kaler.
I want to thank Commissioner Crowley for sharing his insight to why he wears his mask. As I had said a couple weeks ago, I don't like wearing it either, but I'm wearing it for a great reason. Unfortunately, I don't like to get extremely personal, but unfortunately our community has lost some really amazing people in the last couple of weeks. Two of them I'm really close with. For individuals who are watching who may have graduated from OHS, my uncle, who many knew as Doc Kane, passed away due to complications from COVID. And we were sorry to lose him. But I'm going to tell you that college chemistry was never so easy when you had Doc Kane. And so we are all blessed to have had him. If you had him as a teacher, you were blessed. And you didn't think so at the time, I can guarantee you that, but you were blessed. And you certainly thought so when you got through college chemistry. And besides that, he was just a great human. So he will be missed. And then Nancy Ferguson recently passed away, and she was just an amazing person who didn't live within the city of Ottawa, but you wouldn't know it because she loved our community so much, and she gave every single day to make sure that our community was a better place. So she will be missed. And so those are my comments for tonight, just a nod to the loss of my uncle, Don Kane, and somebody who I actually really considered probably a mom, Nancy Ferguson.
Thank you very much. Michael Skidmore.
Sure. I agree with Commissioner Kaler's comments about Doc Kane. I had him for chemistry and physics both, and I don't think I could have survived both of those without his help, extra help. So he was a good teacher. The other thing too, I want to mention about the food pantries in town. There's one at 5th and Main, and there's one behind Buzzard's Pizza. Today, I happened to drive by the one at 5th and Main on 2 occasions, and each time I saw someone taking food out of the pantry, which is what it's there for. And it just kind of hit me realizing there's needs in this community, and also made me feel good that there's people putting food in the pantry. And so I would encourage all of us commissioners, everyone listening, next time you go to the grocery store, pick up a few extra items, whatever it might be. Let's put those in there because those things are being used by people. And like I said, I had 2 emotions. I felt sad the person had to go there to get it. This one person put something under a coat and they looked embarrassed, but I'm glad they did it. And the second thing I thought, I'm thankful someone put the food there to start with. So let's all work together, community, we can make it a better place.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, this community is very resourceful and has a lot of resources and a lot of ability to help anyone that does need the help, and a lot of willingness to do that. So those are all good reminders. We have had a lengthy meeting tonight, so without anything on our agenda has been accomplished. So we will call this meeting adjourned at 15 minutes until 9. Thank you.